YouTubers, this is Joe from ArtAlienTV. Another quick game of interplanetary I Spy going on here, and today I'm showcasing my new GigaMacro SUPERZOOM page here. There'll be a link in the description and in the comments below, so you can check it out. And I've got about 13 Gigapans up on here so far. What I've been doing is uploading all the Gigapans I've done recently, or some of them, and linking to the videos and vice versa. And when you go on these, you can actually click on the images or on the annotations and it will take you straight to the video. And I'm going to show you something I found last night when I was uploading this one. So this is a new find. Now this one's called Multiple Finds, Sol 173, MSL Sol 173. There's loads of stuff in here, much of which I've covered already in previous videos. I've done about 3 or 4 videos on this one. Let's have a look at it now. Now, what's cool about this is that these are basically anomaly maps. And what I've done is I've put some image clips in here. This is a raw Gigapan with nothing done to it. It's just been enlarged a little bit and uploaded. And I've added some image clips of some of the things I've found. Not all the things I've found, just some of them. And I've mapped them here. So you can actually go through these and check them out. And then if you click on the icon next to the thing, like this one, there'll be a link to the video that I did on that particular thing, okay? So most of these things have been covered before in previous videos, including this thing up here, this thing here, which is a skull, and there's another one, a flattened skull next to it, and there's some carved faces here in the rock. So you can link to those, and you can also look at them. If you don't want to do that, you can just look at the images down here at the bottom. Here's my enhanced clip. Now I've enlarged these really large so you can zoom right in and see the detail up really close and check them out. And there's the raw clip, there's the enhanced clip. So there's lots of these things. Here's the car-shaped object. I'm not saying this is a car, but it's shaped like one. And it isn't a natural rock. We have straight parts to it here and what looks like a bonnet or curved metal part here. This is all encrusted in clay, and it looks kind of melted, but this is probably a metal object that's melted, but it's also covered in clay because this is the bottom of a lake. So this, at some point, was shoved in the water or fell in the water and got encrusted. Okay, so that's the car-shaped thing. This is a new find from last night. Very strange-looking head with these big googly eyes. Don't know what it represents really. Very strange indeed. But the one I want to concentrate on today is this one, which is really nice. Up here, you've got the little carved heads here, just here. Now what's cool about this is you can zoom right in much further than you can on the normal Gigapan site. So the GigaMacro site is like a super zoom version of that, and it loads up better and there's less problems with it. A lot of people have been having problems loading up and linking to the Gigapan sites, but this one seems to work okay, luckily. But here's the new find. I'm calling this Venus or Aphrodite. This one here. Now this is a statue, and it's a female. Looks very much like Venus or Aphrodite, and I'll show you some image comparisons in a minute. With curly hair, it's not in a huge detail, and the shadows on it are a little bit unkind to it. In other words, if it was lit from further round to the right, maybe we'd probably see more nose and eye detail. Unfortunately, it's kind of in shadow, but there's enough detail here to determine that this is actually a statue. You can see the eyes here, and I've got it up in my graphics program here. I'm going to show you a close-up of it now. This is the clip I took, and I'll show you the details. And we're getting nice and close. There we are. If you get too close, it just pixelates. Now the eyes are very dark. We've got a small curved nose and a nice curved chin and a little mouth here. Nose here, obviously. You can see the eyes. There's not a hell of a lot of detail here, but what was nice about this is that it's another female statue, and the vast majority of the ones I've found so far have been male. Men like kings, princes and priests and warriors, that kind of thing, a lot of them. And some of them are quite small figurines. But this was interesting because if you look at these features, it's very similar to Venus or Aphrodite on Earth. And I've got some image comparisons here. This is Aphrodite or Venus. Now, The original name for this goddess was the goddess Isis from Egypt. And of course the Greeks invaded Egypt and then borrowed some of their gods and goddesses and renamed them. And one of them was Aphrodite. And of course, when the Greeks were defeated by the Romans later on, and Romans also invaded Egypt, they renamed and borrowed all the a lot of the gods, not only from the Egyptians but from the Greeks, and renamed them. And this one was renamed Venus. Venus bust sculpture. Now look at the facial detail and the hair. You've got sort of curly hair tied up at the back, and nice feminine attributes. There's lots and lots of different versions of this, but this was a nice one and very similar to what we're looking at today. I'm not saying it is definitely the same goddess. I'm just saying it's a representation of a very similar goddess on Mars. And why do I think that? Well, I have found others, which I'm going to show you now. So you've got this nice curve of the neck at the back, head coming up, and we've got curly hair detail on top, and you can see curves and curls in here, okay, if you look carefully, and it does look like a female, very much like Venus or Aphrodite. And you've got eyebrow detail. It's a bit vague, but the reason I think it may be a representation of a similar goddess to what we have on Earth, like Isis or Aphrodite or Venus, is that I found this one a while back and did a video about this. Now, this is actually a picture of a figurine, a small figurine, which is only a few inches long, encrusted in mud here. Like a lot of these things on the Mars surface, they ended up in the bottom of this lake bed and became encrusted in mud and clay and sediment, which then later, as the water dried out, hardened, encrusting them, a bit like that car-shaped thing I showed you a minute ago. So these are all over the place, and there's figurines, there's animals, there's all sorts of things lying around. Lots of them are carved, but lots of them are actually specimens that have been preserved. This is a figurine, probably a burial figurine, possibly, or it may have been an altarpiece, or put on someone's mantelpiece or something like that as a lucky figurine or goddess figurine. And this is Aphrodite here, and this is the one on Mars on the left. So Aphrodite is Venus and is also the goddess Isis as well. So they're one and the same, and they were basically rebranded later on by different civilizations, as the Greeks did, and then later the Romans did. Okay, so we've got here evidence of very, very similar gods and goddesses on Mars, and I have a whole collection of them, which I will link to at the end of this video. There's dozens and dozens of statues that I found, probably somewhere between 150 and 200 now, and some of them are in quite good condition, some of them aren't, some of them are broken, some of them are fallen over, some are on their side, but most of them I found are in enough detail to determine what they are and whether they're male or female, or whether they're a warrior or a goddess or a god or whatever. So it does look like we have some very, very close parallels between the ancient gods and goddesses that we used to worship in the ancient cultures on Earth and the ones on Mars. I've even shown pictures of ape-like demigods like Hanuman as well. I will link to that at the end of this video. So there's lots and lots of these gods and goddesses on Mars that look very similar to our Hindu, ancient Greek, ancient Roman, and ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses on Earth. And some of them even look Mayan as well. So how could that be possible? There does seem to be some cross-pollination going on here between Mars and Earth. It may be the case that when Mars was largely destroyed with a cataclysm or nuclear war or whatever, that they came here and brought their different religions to Earth, which is how we got them. The main religions, I'm talking about Hinduism and early pagan religions like we had in Egypt and Greece and such places. It is possible that they travelled here, and not only did they bring their religions and art and architecture, like the giant pyramids and massive structures, that we have on Earth, it's possible they also bought animals and genetic material from their creatures on the planet and then brought a lot of those with them in an ark, which may have landed on Earth in the form of a spaceship or something, and then they populated the Earth in certain areas in Central and South America, well, Central America, and in Northern Africa and Egypt, and in the Far East perhaps, and picked out some of the places on Earth and colonised them. It is possible. I can't prove it, but the parallels are very, very, very similar. And I really don't think that can be a coincidence here. So there we are. There's that figurine. And a couple of the other things I found in this image whilst I was working on it. That was the other thing there, this weird goggle-eyed crazy thing with these big goggly eyes. Now what this represents, whether it's a carving or an actual skull, it looks like a damaged carving, and the head's kind of broken here at the top. So this probably would have come up to here, like this, at some point perhaps. And we've got what looks a bit like a row of teeth here, but there's not enough detail. This is heavily eroded, so the detail has largely disappeared, unfortunately. And then there was this thing, which is very strange. Now I don't know what this is, but it looks like something that's manufactured, because we have a long straight part here, which goes up, and we've got this perfect angle here, straight part, and then we've got this kind of thing coming round here like this. I don't know what this represents. Perhaps some of you might have an idea what this might be. It's got this part to it here. So this is either part of a carving or part of some architecture or something. It may even be an object. It's almost like a sort of gun shape. I'm not saying it is a gun, but it is just kind of shaped a bit like one. I don't know what it is. Absolutely no idea. I just thought it was interesting. So there's loads of stuff to see in these Gigapans, and I will be uploading many more. I've done over the years, since the beginning of last year, in the last year and a half, I've done about 1,000 Gigapans. And I mean, I work about 14 or 15 hours a day, every day, apart from maybe a Saturday where I might go out for a few hours. So I do have probably somewhere around 900 to 1,100 Gigapans that I've done. Some of them are incomplete, but most of them are complete. Many of them are raw like this, because when you enhance these images, often the shadows get really dark, like at this end, okay, and you can't see anything. And the main thing, I think, with these Gigapans is to keep as much brightness and visibility in the image as possible, so that you can look into the shadows and see things in the shadows. Now, there are often interesting objects in between some of these rocks, and if you enhance the image and turn the contrast up, like a lot of people do, including me, you lose that detail and you can't actually see anything in the shadows. Here's the car thing. So there's a link there to the video. I've done a couple of videos on that. I actually spotted a lot of these things back in 2013 and 14. There's the Venus or Aphrodite statue head there. So you can zoom right into these things. There's this thing I published from the moon the other day, which I called Heaven's Gate. So what I'm trying to put across here is the fact that that all my images are free for anyone to look at. You can't sell them or print them out and sell them or anything like that, or put them on a t-shirt without my permission. I'm on about my enhanced images here. But of course, the raw images like this are free for anyone to look at and take clips and do what you like. That's fine. So what I'm trying to get across here is how massive some of these things are. Now this thing is over a mile high, this diamond shaped, I call it the diamond door or Heaven's Gate. And there's a link to the video there. You can just link to the video. So all these have links to the original image and the videos and everything. If you go to the information here on the side, you've got all the information you need, all the credits here, the date when I found it and everything, and the links to the original images and everything, okay? So check these out, because you can zoom right into these things and see things in really close-up detail, which you wouldn't probably do just by watching the video, okay? So you can go right in, go right up to the individual, you can actually see the grain of the photograph here. Amazing how far these things zoom in. I'm really pleased with this site. So it's called ArtAlienTV-Gigapans. You can just Google it or follow the links below. What I will do, I'll show you a couple more of these very quickly. And there's only one thing I found in this, but it's absolutely astonishing. And I did do a video about this recently, but it didn't get viewed very much. And I think this is why. Because when you go in, now this is either a doll or it's an actual humanoid, right? I think the latter. Why? Because there's sexual organs. And I really don't think a doll, when you zoom right in, even on the raw image here, look, you can see the eye detail. Right? Now, this is a bit vague. When you zoom in, it goes a bit blurry, but this is completely raw here. Right? Go to the enhanced clip, where I've colorized it. I haven't enhanced it much at all, apart from that. You can see eye detail and other details here, which I really don't think you would see if this was a doll. So this looks like either a calcified doll or a calcified human. I think the latter. But so I could be wrong. Very odd indeed, this thing. This is the Mars boy, I've called it. And this still hasn't even had 2,000 views on YouTube, so this has been censored. This is another reason why I've been putting them on this Gigapan site here, because it won't be censored by anybody. And there it is there. You can see it. Even in the raw image, when you zoom in, you can see the eye detail, you can see all this detail here. As usual, I didn't enhance it very much. If you've got to really, really massively enhance something to see it, it may not be there. If it looks fairly clear and obvious in the raw image, then it probably is there, right? That's my take on that. And there's a link to the video there. This one I've decided to call this Rock Knudsen. Not Rock Hudson, but Rock Knudsen, because this is Knudsen Ridge, PIA 20319. Now, this is another thing I found years ago, which sort of went a bit viral, but was then censored. So it got to sort of 20-odd thousand, about 27,000 views, and then suddenly censored, and now it doesn't really get any views at all, which is ridiculous, because this is the clearest head I think that anybody's found on Mars. And this is mummified. This isn't. I don't think this is carved. The hair detail is too fluffy for it to be a carving, I think, but it could be. But you can actually see, even in the raw clip here, you can see eye detail in there. See that eye? A reptilian-looking eye just there. So you can zoom right in. You can see the teeth here. You can see it also. This one's just been brightened up here, a basic brightened up version. See the eye, you can see the nose, you can see the teeth, and a mullet kind of haircut. Now, I do think this one was actually possibly a tank commander. Why do I think that? Because basically, about a kilometre from here or less, there's another similar ridge, not far from here, less than a kilometre away, with a tank on top of it. I think this guy may have come out of that knocked out tank and somehow ended up decapitated and left in the sand here, or he was buried up to the chin. Now, if you think of it logically, if you just sat a head on the ground which was decapitated, it would probably fall over at some point, because the neck material would probably deteriorate, and then it wouldn't support the head, and it would just topple over. So I actually think that this may actually be a sign of some kind of torture on Mars, where they were capturing soldiers and whoever, and digging a pit and just sticking them in the pit and burying them up to the chin and just leaving them there, and they would then die of exposure and whatever else. And if you look at the neck here, it just seems to go straight into the ground. There's no sign of it being torn off or cut off. It looks like it's going into the ground. So I think these are actually buried stood up. Now, they may have actually buried themselves, each other, in a standing position. There are certainly some that I found in a sitting position. And maybe this was covered up, and then the ground here sort of eroded away on this slope, exposing these burials. So this may actually just be a burial mound where lots of these may have been buried and the soil is eroded away, exposing the sitting burials on the side of the mound. Now, under this mound, if it is a burial mound, there may be hundreds around this thing, all around it. Okay, we don't know. So there are a number of theories here that could explain this. There's also this thing here, which looks like an ape, orangutan or some kind of ape anyway. I wouldn't know what species that is. It's similar to some of ours, but not the same. So there's no proof of what theory is correct yet. But the fact that I've found so many burials and uncovered some of the details in these images over the years suggests to me that a lot of these are actual burial sites that are eroded away, and they're either sat or stood up, buried in a pit. Some of them had more elaborate kind of stonework around them and then partially covered up, or even put in coffins, stone coffin lids and that kind of thing. But a lot of them were just buried straight in the sand. And this sand is very salty and sulfuric, like I've said before, and would preserve them perfectly. They would naturally mummify. I'll show you a little bit of that goddess video now. This is it here. This is the Aphrodite goddess figurine, or Venus, or goddess Isis. Just here. There it is. It's in that encrusted rock and mud here. And there's other things next to it as well. But that was cool. There are lots of these, and they do seem to correspond with ones we have on Earth, and that must indicate, at least in some part, that there was some kind of colonization either from Earth to Mars or from Mars to Earth, or perhaps both. Okay? There's no possible way that people millions of miles away, 30 or 40 million, well, it's nearly 40 million miles away, there's no possible way that they would come up with the same designs and the same gods and goddesses as us, just by coincidence. The chances of that are absolutely minuscule. There must have been some kind of, at least some kind of communication, if not travel, communication between these people on Earth and on Mars. And perhaps the pyramids were used as some kind, as well as many other things, were capable of communicating from one planet to another. Who knows? There are still many things about the Great Pyramids on Earth that we don't understand, and it is possible that these people had communications with people on other planets like Mars, and perhaps other cultures in our solar system. Okay, I'm not saying I can prove that, but it is a possibility we have to at least consider when looking at these. And I do like it when we find female statues on Mars, because most of them I've found so far are male, and it makes it a bit more balanced. I mean, a lot of girls and women do watch this channel. I think about 15% of my viewers are female, which is great. I wish there were more, but the sort of geeky stuff that I do tends to appeal to blokes for some reason. And I think the way that YouTube push these things is very, very sexist in the way they push it only to certain groups and demographics. Okay, so that's not really my fault. Check out this site, follow the links below, and there's lots more coming. There's only 13 on here so far, but I've got about another 1,000 to go. And it may take me a year or two to get them all up here. But it's worth it, because I've always wanted something where I could show maps of everything that I found so that other people can look at them properly. And this is another example here of the things all in a row. 4 things in a row here. There's lots of other things in here. But this was the other female statue that I found recently, which was up here somewhere. Which one is it? It's this one. This one I called the Priestess. Now this looks very kind of Egyptian and alien at the same time. Okay, this one here. And there's a close-up of it here to look at. Where is it? There we are. It's a nice close-up, and you can zoom right in. There's not a hell of a lot of detail here, but it's there. Looks kind of like some of the things we see in Egypt. Thanks for watching, everybody. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. Please share on social media, Twitter, Facebook. Clips coming up now.